The Super Falcons won their match yesterday in a game that saw them scoring 6 goals as against the 2 the Egyptians scored yesterday. It was more like a penalty shootout game because we wanted goals to flow in yesterday. Yes, we had goals coming in from the Falcons team, and however, and the style the goal came in, it wasn't really our problem. We just wanted them to keep scoring, and they never disappointed us. They scored 6 goals, three from the penalty spot, while the other three coming from players, especially those coming from the bench. That's to tell you that how ready the Falcons are already in the game, in the game already. They made sure they executed the game plan, and they understood perfectly that it was a game that needed goals for them to secure their spot in the knockout phase. So, Silas, I will like to hear your view about the game yesterday. Yes, we understood that we needed goals for us to get our qualification. If it was about winning, we know very well that they will win. But we want them to give us that goals to secure our spot automatically in the knockout phase. And they did just that. How well are you thrilled with their performance yesterday?
Yeah, I'm very happy. I was very happy watching the game yesterday. We were always looking to score goals from the beginning of the match, even to the very end. If you watch the match, before the final whistle, we scored a goal before they went for a kickoff, and then the final whistle was blown. So the girls were always looking, when is the next goal coming? When is the next goal coming? And that's a very good question that the girls were asking themselves in the match yesterday.
It was a game that we saw them scoring three different penalties, and we had three penalty
Because
takers.
yes,
You get the first one came in from Assisat, which she executed perfectly. In fact, when I saw her taking the ball, I never had this doubt in me that she would miss the penalty, because we've always spoken about veterans being in the team, and Asisat is one of them. You could see in our last game when we had a penalty against the Zambians, against the Malawians, Asisat was not on the game, but the captain stood out and took the
mm,
responsibility. But yesterday she was there in the game, and we had a penalty, and she boldly left it for Asisat to take. Do you see the message that they are trying to pass? You could see the
yes,
respect they
yes,
are called her as a veteran in the team. How
true.
well does that speak for you?
Now it speaks volumes of the respect that they give the veterans in the team,
Yeah.
coupled with the fact that Asisa was the one that actually won the penalty. When she shot the ball and then hit the Egyptians' the center back hand. So it was up to her to just take responsibility, because we know that she's good at these things. She's that kind of player in this kind of clutch moments, whatever the pressure, whatever circumstance, she can always deliver in these crucial moments, as we saw her do last night.
Okay, so before we move further, we would like to hear your tactical view about the game yesterday, as you've always given us on our previous editions. Let's hear the concept you've already prepared for us this time around.
Okay, the match yesterday, the Super Falcons demolished as we hoped and
That's called
expected by
annihilation.
scoring six. But they also
Considered.
considered two,
Yeah.
and we have to consider before yesterday's match, Egypt has only scored one goal
Yes, yes,
against two
yes.
teams, and then they scored two
Against
against us.
yeah.
So there are some issues, and in this analysis, we'll be analyzing why this was even possible, and what made our game stand out. Now, from the beginning, the manager opted with a 4-1-2-3 or a 4-3-3, the classic 4-3-3 we all know of in the build-up phase. Now, the issues with a single pivot came up again, in the sense that someone man-marked their single AMF man-marked the single pivot. So this means that we have to recycle position back to our center backs. And this also meant that our center backs have to find other options, because our right back and left back were also marked. So they were just waiting for us to pass the ball to them, and then they'll press them. So it was a pressing trap. And then when we pass the ball into the interior space, that is to our interior midfielders, there was also a pressing trap there. So our girls quickly adjusted. I will give them their flowers for that. They adjusted, and then they know that okay, they want us to play to the middle. Let's take it to the flanks. Let's take it to the wide areas. And they took the balls there, and then we were able to find even more space and we progress the ball even better. Now the issues are there because against Malawi, we were not able to build properly with a single pivot. And now we're going into the game against Egypt with a single pivot. Of course, the reason why it did show was because the Egyptian girls were not as physically
Yes.
dominant as the Malawi ladies or the Zambians. So we could impose ourselves on the game. We're technically better, physically better, faster, more agile than them. So I feel the girls really did well carrying themselves in the match because the match was mostly won by them, not the manager. When we say things about the success of the double pivot in modern football, there are reasons to that. One is that you have shorter passing lanes in the build-up stage. So if you move the ball to the left-hand side and let's say the right winger of the opposing team presses that DM, it leaves the flanks open. That's a 2v1. And even if someone marks the man marks the double pivot, there is space in behind that we can attack, and most center backs don't like to leave their line. So even if they leave their line, we can latch up the pass. So now, so carrying this sort of third man combinations, and that's how modern football we play modern football because pressing systems have become very very aggressive. Although throughout the whole game there was no adjustment from the coach or the management that okay, this is what we're suffering from. But the girls found a different way, and that was moving the ball through the wide areas as quick as possible. Now they also won their 1v1 battles. If you notice, they were almost, it's like having a Lamine Yamal in
Yeah.
every part of your game because our left winger could dribble, right winger could
Good
dribble,
dribble.
Oshola could dribble, and they were faster. So you could see throughout the game, it was just these girls imposing themselves on the Egyptian ladies, and it got us the maximum points and delivered the results we were all hoping for. Going further into the competition, there will be questions as to how we can defend. Of course, the reason why the Egyptians couldn't find a way because they used a single striker, and then with number 10 behind the single striker, and we know we can contain a single striker.
Yeah.
We suffered against
Yes.
Malawi because they had two sisters who were up front, who were always putting pressure on our
Center backs.
on our center backs on the last line of defense. Against the Zambians, we considered a red card in the first half, just trying to stop
Number nine also.
their very strong and agile striker. But in this Egyptian team, there was no one like that. Their
Yeah.
number 9 wasn't as physically imposing as the Zambian number 9 or even the Malawi number
Number
9.
nine.
So this going into the further into the competition, we will have to find ways, solutions that we can use to deal with teams that come up with those kind of systems. Because Egypt played to our strength. Of course, they're already out of the competition,
Yeah.
but then that is they didn't even try so much to hurt us through our own weaknesses. They wanted to play ball, and there's no way you can play ball better than the Super Falcons at this level. So that rounds up the tactical analysis of this game.
And let's go directly to the team setup. We considering the red card we got in our last match, and I spoke very well. I could remember I said Christy Achebe is one player who the coach can deploy to
Yes.
play in that position of a central back, and effectively she was slotted into that position and executed her job perfectly. We saw how composed and commanding she was in the game, pairing together with Ohali.
Well, yes.
It tells you how versatile she is and how good she is in understanding the game in general. Now, let's talk about the setup. From your analysis already, you said we set up in the old, or let's say the traditional 4-3-3 setup, which
Structure.
we saw already. We saw what's it called? Aloze deploying back to
left back.
they took her back to the left back position,
True.
while Christie came back as the one of the center back yesterday in partnering with Ohali.
Ohali.
How did that sit well with you? How did you see that setup yesterday?
Yeah, it was good from a tactical point of view. Why? Because on the ball, we see Aluze inverting into the half space,
Yeah.
giving us more central options. So when we have more central options, we can control the match even better. And we saw her drifting even to receive final passes that she could have scored herself. And with the shifting of the DM, Uchebe, Uchebe,
Yes,
did I get the
Christian
pronunciation?
Chebe. Yeah.
Yes, back to the center back was very good. Another player that I would like to really call out that really impressed me yesterday was the single pivot that they used,
That's our
Abiodun.
Kante, Deborah
She
Abiodun.
she was she was outstanding off the ball. She was like this destroyer kind of uh, defensive midfielder.
Yeah.
She didn't allow if the ball passed her, you will not pass her.
You can't be called Kante and you play like you play like
Okay,
Bruno
she's called
Fernandez.
Kante.
That's her nickname.
Oh,
So she's
Kante.
called Kante, the
No,
lady with double lungs.
she was all over the Egypt.
Yeah.
There was no part. I was scared at the beginning of the match because a single pivot. Let me see what she can do, and then she was outstanding. She was outstanding, really.
She was really outstanding. Like I said earlier, you can't be called Kante and you play like Bruno Fernandez or a Cristiano Ronaldo in that DM position. She's this lady that plays like she has this extra lungs working with her. You know, when this one is tired, you put the extra, just like a car. If you're driving, you always go with a spare
Tire.
tire. So she always has that leg. If that match could even go up to 120 minutes, if there is anybody that will continue that game for 120 minutes, it's Deborah. That's how strong
She
she
was really
is.
good.
Yeah.
She was really good.
So we saw us controlling the game yesterday from minute one down to the last minute, but the breakthrough did not come not until the 21st minute of the game when we had our first penalty, and the conversion from Assisat was as calm, cool, and composed. You could see us getting that goal. That single goal that came in the 21st minute of the game, was that the turning point for the Super Falcons? Was it the goal that set the pace for the remaining of minutes of the match, or you were like seeing us struggling before that goal? Like if we did not score that goal earlier, probably we would have been playing with more pressure
Pressure.
for the rest of the game.
No, no, we won't. The goal coming at the 21st minute, there were chances for us to score even earlier than that.
Yeah.
And if you see how the game went on, especially in that first half, there was this confidence of the Super Falcons, that I haven't seen. Maybe because they're playing a less, a
Yeah,
team
lesser
that's
team.
not
Yeah.
so. But there was that confidence. 1v1, they were beating their man, combining passes here and there, and the movement of the ball were very, very good. And there was this kind of understanding and chemistry with the whole team, not just one part of the attack. It was the whole thing. And that's why you see from the goals they scored, Ajib Bade having an assist and all of it was really, really good to watch. So the goal coming at 21st minute wouldn't have
Really impacted or
really impacted.
affected
Of
the game.
course, the goal coming gave them an uplift. Okay, guys,
We
we
can
have
do
scored. We
this.
have scored.
Yes.
Let's continue. All right, but if they hadn't scored at that moment, we would have even scored more because the Egyptians posed little to no threat at all.
Okay. And our goal scorer, the person that opened the goal scoring for us, Assisat, she was later injured in the game and was taken out at around minute 40 something or
Yes,
so.
in the first
And
half.
she was replaced by a player, Gift
Yeah,
Monday.
Monday.
And
Mm,
I also spoke about Gift Monday the last time. I said if there is
yes,
one player that can still come in from the bench and impact the game for us as a team player, is
yes,
Gift Monday.
and she did that.
And she did
She did that
exactly what
almost immediately.
you understand. So
Almost immediately.
before we talk about Gift Monday, we are talking about her already. Let's talk about the impact that we had from our benchers, people that
Okay.
came from the bench. We
Mm.
saw solid substitutions from the coach, and kudos to the coach, kudos to the technical crew for seeing those areas and touching the players that needed to be touched in the game yesterday. We saw the impact the whole substitution brought into the game. How pleased were you with the coach for substitutions yesterday?
The substitutions were they were good overall, but I think the most important thing about the substitutions is that they were timely. If you check, Gift Monday came into the match, and less than 2 minutes,
She
3 minutes,
scored.
she scored.
Kanu
Kanu
came
came
into,
into
I
the
think her
match.
first touch was the goal she scored also.
You get, so
quick,
it's
quick
almost like,
impact.
okay, you know what? You go in, score. Where are you going? Score. You two, it's what your
Come
mate
in
did.
again
Do the
and give
same
your
thing.
own score.
So it was almost like a simulation, to so to say, against, and it just goes to how it just shows how deep the quality, not just squad depth. There's squad depth, and then there's
There's
quality
quality,
of
yes,
squad depth, and the
yes.
quality is
It's top
is
notch.
really really
The
good.
quality is really top notch. And now let's talk about our penalty scorers. When you watch the penalty yesterday, you could just feel sorry for the Egyptian goalkeeper. You saw
Yeah,
her going into her left hand, the right hand of the first penalty. Assistant played, and
the
yes,
left,
assistant played to her own right hand, which is the goalkeeper's
yes,
right hand.
left,
The
yeah.
second penalty again, we saw her going the other way, which
Mm,
Christie also went to this other place. I
yes,
was like, hi, what's happening? Then we had the
and,
third penalty
and then
again.
the captain.
Ajibade also going down to the keeper's right hand, and the keeper now dived to
So that
Ajibade's right hand.
it's
So I was like, sorry, it's not your day. And if we could still have another penalty, I
would
am
have
still
still
seeing
scored.
them scoring, even with
God,
five different players.
true, true.
How pleased were you seeing the guests being 110 composed when taking their penalties that yesterday?
No, at the point I began to pity the Moroccan
The
keeper,
Egyptian keeper.
because I think when they considered the third penalty, the camera was showing her. She was like,
Again.
"Waiting they saw, waiting they happen for her, waiting they occur." You
Yeah.
know, and the confidence from the first penalty taker.
Ice
The
cold.
penalty technique. That there are types of penalty technique. The chill one, the one where you go with shots. You see, like, from Gyökeres shot, and then
Yeah.
none of them went that way. They
Ice
just
cold, ice cold, ice cold.
very easy, very easy. So it gives us a bit of confidence, knowing that going into the latter part of the competition, if we get into a penalty shootout,
We
these
have,
girls
yeah.
can actually deliver for us.
Okay, that's that. The guests will definitely deliver for us, but we are not hoping for us to play going to any penalty shooter because
Oh
it's
no.
something that is more like a game of luck. You might score your five penalties today, and your hand will meet you in the next one.
Hmm.
Like I was also watching the WAFU competition for the men under 20 team. I saw Nigeria playing the Ivory Coast team. I think they were the host of the competition also, and we went into penalty shootout and we won 4-3 also. Going into the penalty, the Ivory Coast team were fully confident, thinking they would. So, but that's to tell you how penalty can be.
Penalties can go.
It's a game of luck, and we
Yes,
missed one of our penalty. And at the end of the day, our goalkeeper catch. Yes, he saved
court.
two penalty
Wow, nice, nice.
from the Ivory Coast team. So we please Falcons, I beg, don't take us to any penalty shooter. Just win your game in the full 90 minutes and let's celebrate. And let's talk about the coach himself now, Madugu. We've always spoken about Madugu, we've always spoken about him, and it's like things are beginning to, he's now getting things right gradually as every game progresses. Now we are into the stage where if you make one mistake, you are out of the competition, which is the
Mhm.
knockout phase. And we are almost close to securing our spot in
In the
the
World Cup.
World Cup. I think this is just the last battle before we get that World Cup ticket. Do you see panic coming from the coach, or do you see him being composed and going into our next match with 100% faith, believing and trusting the ladies that they will get the job done for him also?
Yes, I don't, honestly, I don't really trust he hasn't convinced me enough to trust him. So I trust the girls to deliver on the
You don't
pitch.
trust the coach.
I don't trust the coach to give them, to make their life easier.
Yeah,
Because the best coaches make life easier
the
for the
players.
players on the pitch. But the way he sets the team up, he went from a single pivot where we struggled to a double pivot where we played well, and then back to a single pivot where we struggled. So there is no clear blueprint.
But
If you
don't you think him tweaking the team or twisting the team from that level, from single pivot, double pivot, single pivot again? Don't you think those things depends on the team he was actually facing? Because if you check the first game, it was a single pivot,
Yes,
knowing fully well, believing that that game
yes,
was more like a walkover game. Then we moved to the Zambian game where he
Where
knew
he
fully well that he has known their strength already.
yes,
He went back to be playing a double
pivot.
pivot. Then aside from the red card, because I won't say the red card affected him going back to single pivots again, because I believe we
Yes.
also have a good defensive midfielder on the bench. But aside from that, we saw him again going into using just one single pivot
Pivot
also again.
against
So don't you
Egypt.
think it was just because of the teams that he was facing at that moment?
Now, if early on the match against Egypt, we struggled to find rhythm.
Yeah.
Why? Because we're using a single pivot. So, and that single pivot
Pivot, yeah.
was man-marked in most cases.
Yeah.
So we had to go deep, deep into. So our centre backs needed to pass the ball directly into the attacking third.
Dead,
That's
yes.
the Egyptians' defensive third,
Dead.
and the players receiving the ball are receiving the ball with
Backing, yeah.
backing.
Yeah, the goalposts that they're supposed to score to.
So in this kind of scenarios, I'm not saying you should use a double pivot throughout.
Yeah.
But in this kind of case, when you notice that your team is struggling to find
Reading
find their
and
footing,
yes.
you try to help them. Okay, you come back.
Yeah.
Stay, let's do double pivot so that we can create more space. There's a lot of advantages the double pivot brings to a team. And I've mentioned during the analysis, I mentioned some of those. Let me just quickly mention one important one is that the passing lanes are more because one double pivot, two double, so
Yes.
create more passing lanes. When it creates passing lanes or passing options, more passing options, it it makes the opposing team, the defending team, either to man mark those two people. And when you man mark
Yes. There
those
is
double pivots,
space also
there's
again
space behind
for
them
them to
that we can
utilize.
give our attackers directly. So they'll have more space to receive the ball and even turn in case the
Yeah.
center back
Yeah.
doesn't push up
Which
to
we saw
them.
in the game against Zambia. We
Yes.
saw those
So
ones definitely.
we at the beginning, that's why I said the girls were the one. For me, it looked like the girls were the one who opted. Like, okay, this is what they are playing. We'll take
Let's
the
do
ball.
this.
Let's do this. And they adjusted and then they
I
adapted.
get your point. I get your point.
So it was the girls impressing me. I didn't see it like impressing me using the structure that the coach had given them with their own. They have the ability, they have the technical ability and all of that to see the game through.
Okay, and to the glory of God, we've secured our spot in the quarterfinals of the competition. I think we are playing the I think we are playing the Cameroonians
Cameroon.
on that on particular day, and we are seeing the Super Falcons going into that game with full confidence. You need to go with confidence after scoring 6 goals and giving out your 100 in your last game. The Cameroonians already they know. In fact, they were even I think they will be crying now, saying, "Why is it Nigerians again? Why are we always meeting this Falcons team? Falcons will get the job done, and Falcons will go into the World Cup. Falcons will still go into and go on to win the semi-finals, and we are now believing them 100 to bring back the trophy home. That's our just we want to see 11 stars, not just the 10 stars. We are tired of 10 stars. We want something new.
We
So
want more.
Falcons, we are trusting you this time around, not hoping again. We are now trusting you to get the job done for us. Do well to always stick with us and enjoy most of our discussions here on this platform. Enjoy the rest of your day.